Australia's political leaders and the heads of churches, charities and other institutions face pressure to act immediately on the $500 million Child Abuse Royal Commission's recommendations. As the 5-year $500 million inquiry wrapped up in Sydney on Thursday, a collection of more than 1,000 messages from survivors was handed to the National Library of Australia. Read more, what the Royal Commission found. Warning, some of the below messages may be distressing. The book, which counsel assisting Gail Furness said was too heavy to lift, tells a story of stolen childhoods, painful confrontations and inspiring resilience by its anonymous contributors. I have lost 40 years to the demo that no longer has power over me, one person wrote. Some spoke of blaming themselves, others described deep and dark scars or wounds that would likely never heal, and another declared they would now start picking up the pieces of their broken life. One person urged fellow survivors to continue coming forward. Just keep your head up and think of the future, not your past, they said. Many hinted at carrying their burden for decades, never speaking about the horrors they endured. I never accepted that it had impacted me, one person wrote. Now the floodgates are open and the pressure released. Their messages were consistent on one point: don't let this happen again. More than 8,000 people spoke with commissioners about their abuse, a process which has exposed a national tragedy, according to Chair Justice Peter McClellan. The survivors are remarkable people with a common concern to do what they can to ensure that other children are not abused, he said during the hearing. They deserve our nation's thanks. Ray Leary, a victim of the infamous Dolly Dunn paedophile ring, hoped Australia would be a better place for children because of the Commission's work. No more tears for us, he said outside the hearing in Sydney. We're survivors and we're going to get it out there. The final report from the 5-year inquiry will be released today after being handed to the Governor-General and tabled in Parliament. Shadow Attorney General Mark Dreyfus wants speedy action by governments on recommendations once the report, which brings to an end the 5-year inquiry, is released later on Friday. What we now need is to take action. We should not assume just because thousands of survivors have been able to tell their stories that it stopped, he told ABC Radio. UNICEF Australia Director of Policy and Advocacy Amy Lamoy said all political parties at state, territory and federal level must show bipartisan support for necessary reforms and the implementation of the Commission's recommendations. We must ensure that, where responsibility for implementing the Royal Commission recommendations lies at an institutional level, that all types of institutions in Australia are held to account to make improvements in their processes around child safety and responding to allegations of child sexual abuse, she said. Child protection advocate Braveheart said the Royal Commission could be ineffectual unless governments, child protection authorities and institutions act decisively. The group commended moves by governments and institutions to implement some of the inquiry's existing recommendations but said all levels of government must ensure national consistency in how Australia protects its children.